I think it's like apropos that we have extra giggles today, considering it's 420.
Right.
So we're extra giggly, which is nothing new for us. All right. So this review is written by Vin T.
Like the size at Starbucks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. Vin T.
Venti.
Vinti. So this review is written by Vinti. It is a 2-star review on Yelp for the Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Festival. All right, here we go. The Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Festival is held every year during the first weekend of June. The Romans like to say, in vinos veritas, which translates to, in wine there is truth. Whereas Bo and Daisy Duke like to say, yeehaw, let's go get us a burrito. So what happens at some random desert spot when you gather a bevy of hot balloons, airships, 80s rockers, Daisy Dukes, wine snobs, and these beer cocktails called burritos? Well, like the porta potty drains tanks, you end up with something that doesn't mix really well. That's not to say you can't find some good here. The balloon glow when the airships ignite their burners in unison while aloft is striking and sensational. A handful of great wineries represented and lost in the sea of corn dogs, funnel cakes, and fried in hot fat mysteries were some real food items. But I would invest your $50 per ticket with the Real Balloon Festival in Albuquerque, or perhaps the San Diego Bay Wine and Food Festival in November. As the Romans say, ex nihilo nihil fit, which means nothing comes from nothing. Pro tip, it's important to spell check your tattoo. About me, Latin scholar, yes. Daisy Duke fan, yes. Dukes of Hazzard fan, boy, not so much.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that Ven at the end explained why they reference what the Romans would say so many times.
Yes.
Wait.
It's a journey.
What's the difference between Dukes of Hazzard and Daisy Duke? I thought Daisy Duke was a character in Dukes of Hazzard.
Maybe, yeah. I don't really know because I don't. But I always thought of Daisy Dukes as like the shorts, right? Like the actual clothing, and then Dukes of Hazzard. Isn't that a movie?
I believe it was a TV show.
Or a TV show?
And then, yes, it became a film. But they're like the hot girl in that. Like Jessica Simpson in the movie played Daisy Duke.
Yeah. That's who I think of. I think of Jessica Simpson in the short shorts.
Which, for some reason, always makes me think of that Paris Hilton Hardee's commercial where she's like washing the car and then like shoves the burger in her mouth.
Oh, yeah. Awkward.
I don't know why. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
What's the third thing he signs off with? Like what is he saying he's not a fan of? Dukes of Hazzard, yes.
It says Dukes of Hazzard fanboy, not so much. Latin scholar, yes. Daisy Dukes fan, yes. Dukes of Hazzard fanboy, not so much.
I guess I'm just. Why
are you a
he
Dukes of Hazzard
about,
fanboy?
I don't get it. Or is he saying that there's a lot of rednecks here or something?
I think that is what he's saying. Because he also brings up the whole, like, it's important to spell check your tattoo. Clearly, like, I think that the point that Vinti is getting at is, like, the Temecula, as far as I've always known it, has been these beautiful vineyards and a little bit more classy. And I guess this moment, whatever this festival is is very like yeehaw, you know, or like a weird mix of things at once. Like we have these beautiful vineyards, you know, all around, and this striking glow of the airships and the balloons and all that. They're probably yeah. They're like not regular balloons. I think that these are like the hot air balloons, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, duh, that makes sense. So that's like a striking scene to be had. And then I think where we're losing Vinty is the funnel cake, you know, corn dog, hot fat mysteries and misspelled tattoos of it all.
I mean, it is interesting when you think about it because it is sort of mixing high and low,
right?
Like I do,
yeah, and like
a
where
carnival.
does a beer Rita fit into a wine festival?
Like the porta potty analogy.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, it is funny to me to consider like rednecks like the lowest point of society and then the Romans as the highest form.
I guess.
I mean, they literally like
in
killed
Venus
each other for
Veritas.
entertainment. I mean, it sounds to me like Venn takes their
Latin scholarliness
a little to his head, I suppose.
I think so.
But I would say it is unique information because when you said the title, the Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Festival, that sounds like so lovely.
Yeah.
But now hearing this review, I am getting like, this is a very odd mixing of things that don't necessarily belong together, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's valuable in the sense of the name of the event itself really does paint a certain picture, and this really paints a different picture. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, like I'm not above, you know, a funnel cake moment.
Of course.
I love like a nice sort of carnival. Let's have let's just like kiki with some birritas and funnel cake. Like I'm not above the class of it all, but I do think it's interesting in a mix with the wine. Like I think that it's funny because most of the time if you think of a wine festival, you think it's going to be very like shishi with cheese and crackers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to be going and I'm going to be buying like you know, like if you picture, I just picture like a bunch of those things from Starbucks that are like the cheese, the grapes, the whatever.
Well,
like that's what I'm going to be getting.
I definitely think of a charcuterie board, but I also don't think of wine as an afternoon beverage. I think of it as like a chic dinner party. Like I would never want a red wine at like noon on the first weekend of June looking up at balloons.
I'm not a red wine and I'm a white, well, I'm a Sauvignon Blanc specific kind of girl. And I feel like you can definitely have a nice crisp white wine with lunch.
I think of sangria if it's going to be like
or sangria,
lunchtime.
Sure.
But
yeah, the time of day doesn't particularly bother me.
I guess you are in wine country, so like you are going to be partaking in wine at all times.
Yeah,
of the
we
day.
do like wine tours during the day in Temecula and stuff like that. So it's not, the timing doesn't really come into play for me. But let's just, I forgot to mention that Vinty is an elite reviewer, which again I think sort of brings that whole pompousness to light. What do we think of the attitude here? What do we think of the shade?
Well, I have a question. Does it? We don't know where Venn is from.
Yeah, Venn's from Carlsbad, which is near San Diego.
Know it well.
Yeah.
So I guess to me, as someone who born and raised in the South, chose to leave the South.
Sure.
I don't like people making fun of the South if they're not Southern. I don't think that's fair.
Yes.
I think it's a little out of touch.
I agree.
So there is a sense of like, screw you. Yeah, Southern people can be tacky, and sure, there's like a stereotype about Southern people, and you know, but like, why are you like?
And also, some of us love it, and I sort of wish that there was a little room for that. Like we've heard other reviews before where they're like, "Not my cup of tea, but if it's yours, go for it."
Very good point.
Whereas this is feeling judgy in a way that's
very
like
judgmental. Yeah,
skip the whole thing. Go to the San Diego Bay Wine and Food Festival in November because that's where people, are going to be more classy or whatever it is that we're trying to get at.
I'm glad you brought that up because I literally thought, like, why are you suggesting something that's in an entirely different season?
Right.
This is like a early summer festival here in Temecula.
And
why
can
are
we
you suggesting something in fall?
Can we give Temecula like their moment?
Yeah, it does. It does seem to me like Ven has a very specific, pompous point of view about what an elegant wine festival should be, and came to this one being very surprised. But to me, mixing the conceit of like a fair or a daytime festival with like fried stuff, it makes me think that this is like a family friendly offering for Temecula. Like you can bring your kids, they can do all the little silly like fried Oreo stuff, and you can have wine. Like the mixing feels disjointed, but it also feels purposeful.
I agree. Also, like when I went to Temecula, for the first time, because someone told me to go there, the two things that they brought up were like go obviously and do the vineyards, and then there's also this like amazing old candy store and then they're right next to the candy store there's this old root beer store that has like every kind of root beer you can imagine. So I do think Temecula is very family friendly because it's like, okay, you can go to drag the kids to the vineyard and like, whatever, but then hire a driver so that you're not driving your children drunk and go to the candy store.
For sure.
And get them some root beer. So I do think that the family element matches my memory of Temecula.
The beerita thing is odd because beer and margaritas have nothing to do with wine. But have you ever had one of those? Have you ever had a beer? Like there's a place in Manhattan called Blockheads, and they put an upside down Corona inside of a frozen margarita.
I mean, I'm not a big beer person in general. I do like a margarita, so I would just have my margarita as the marg minus the beer.
Okay, so tell me about this spelling situation because it seems like, or the grammar.
I think it's good. We use a lot of quotes. I think spelling and grammar checks out. There were a few sentences that were a little bit hard for me to read in between the commas to gather where we're putting the emphasis on the sentence. So I don't really know.
And the anxiety of seeing Latin.
And the anxiety of seeing Latin. I think if I were just reading this review not allowed on a podcast, I would probably just skip that. Like, I don't even think I would. Like, when I first saw the review, I was like, oh, there's going to be Latin here that I'm going to have to say on the show. But I just thought, I mean, you can't really get any more pompous than Roman Latin, can you?
Okay, well, here let's get to the actual nuts and bolts. Like, is the point? What's the point of this review? Do you think that this is a common experience of people going to this festival, or do you think that Ven is sort of in a fluke minority here?
I think it's a little bit hard because I'm, by the way that they're describing it and they set up right away, and we've been talking about, at length. There definitely does seem to be two festivals happening at the same time. So I think you can expect that. But your response to that very well may not be the response that Vin T is having. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of feel like I think that this really got under Vin's skin, unless maybe they're just an elite and they wanted to be able to leave a review.
Right.
But like it does seem like if you're going to a daytime festival of like hot air balloons and wine, like, and we live in a country of lots of different kinds of people. Like if you're not used to dealing or being surrounded by people that are different than you, then you probably are like an obnoxious human. Like if you can't like hobnob with people that aren't exactly like you, then maybe
if you can't
you're the
hang
problem.
with the commoners, then exactly. Maybe you're the odd man out. Yeah, I think that's perfectly valid. I don't know. I feel a little bit not personally attacked because it's not me, but I do feel the attack that I think is a little unnecessary. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I can like put this in like a colander and sort of shift out what's actually necessary here.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it because like we find out that it's $50 a ticket, so that's information.
And it is interesting to know, like, you're gonna be mixing high class with low class, so have that expectation. And I do think the whole redneck stuff is an attempt at humor.
Yes.
More than, like, you know, anything really serious. But I think I could crown venti. It makes me want a venti coffee.
I know. I think I can crown them too. I just have one question.
Yeah.
What do we think that, like, the final shade before the obviously pro tip that it's important to spell check your tattoo? Ex nihilo nihil fit, which means nothing comes from nothing. What do you think that means?
I mean, before we got to the end, when they say they're a scholar, it felt to me like the two most generic, like, Latin phrases that people get as tattoos or like put on their, like, captions of their, like, thirst trap on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I have no idea what Ven is.
Because I don't think that as a concluding statement really adds up to anything. Because I think it's like nothing comes from nothing doesn't really make sense. Like, it's like everything adds up to nothing. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, too much time is spent on Venti. Let's crown him.
All right, here we go. So Chelsey and I each have our own set of 0 to 5 crown cards. In an effort to be fair and not influence one another, we will simultaneously reveal our rating.
The queens are tabulating. Total score.
All right. Trey is holding up 2 crowns. I'm holding up 2.5 crowns. Trey, let us know. Why 2 crowns for Venti?
I think after shifting my little colander, I'm realizing there's base level information here.
Sure.
I was really distracted. I had to do a lot of self work on myself to get through the weeds of, like, the bad humor about Southern people, or not even Southern people, but, like, the Dukes of Hazzard type people.
Sure.
And I don't know. I just think, like, it's a festival. Get over yourself. Like, why are you being so pompous about a festival? The King's Festival.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I gave it 2, because I don't, whatever. It's just get a glass of wine, okay? And enjoy the hot air balloons. Chelsey, why did you say 2.5 crowns?
I was really torn between 2 and 2.5. I agree with everything that you're saying. I think that there was, like, way, too much judgment here that really was a turnoff for me. But like you said, it was actually your colander point that really pushed me up that extra half crown, because I do know it's going to be $50 a ticket. I do know that I definitely am getting a sense of the vibe that I can anticipate. It's 2 crowns, not 1. So I think they are leaving a little bit of room for their interpretation to be not the mass interpretation. So that was why I went with 2.5 crowns for Venti.
All right. Good job. Let's go to Temecula.
Thanks. Yes, let's do it. Please. I'd love to go.